cannot believe you are bringing that up right now. Well, it's relevant, isn't it?
Imagine walking into a house where everything says you belong. Your clothes hang in the closet. Your photos sit on the mantle. Your name is printed neatly on the mailbox outside. By every physical definition, this is your home. But somewhere deep in your chest, something doesn't settle. There's a quiet voice, subtle, persistent, that whispers, "You're just a guest here." You sit at the dinner table. People are laughing, sharing stories, finishing each other's sentences. You smile, maybe even laugh along. But if you're honest, it feels like you're watching a family, not being part of one. Like there's an invisible glass wall between you and everyone else. This is what many stepchildren grow up with. Not loud rejection, not obvious neglect, but something quieter, harder to name. Because here's the truth, a house can be yours without ever feeling like home. In psychology, we don't just talk about physical space, we talk about emotional belonging. The difference between having a place to stay and having a place where you feel seen, safe, and wanted. And when that sense of belonging is missing, especially in childhood, it doesn't just disappear, it follows you. So before we go any further, ask yourself, what actually makes a place feel like home?
I cannot believe you are bringing that up right now. Well, it's relevant, isn't it? You ruin everything. Anyone else want a cookie? Don't mind if I do, they look delicious.
Most people look at a blended family and see a fresh start, a second chance, a new chapter. But psychologically, that's not where the story begins. Every blended family begins where another one ended. Behind the new relationships, there's almost always a quiet history of loss, a divorce, a separation, sometimes the death of a parent. And while adults may move forward, children often don't get the same space to process what they've lost. Because here's the part we rarely talk about. Children don't just lose a parent. They lose a version of the world that once felt stable, predictable, and safe. According to John Bowlby, a child's sense of security is built through consistent emotional bonds. When that bond is disrupted, especially suddenly, it doesn't just cause sadness. It shakes the foundation of how the child understands love, trust, and belonging. And before that foundation can be rebuilt, many children are asked to
try some of the
adapt to
potatoes.
something
They are
entirely
delicious.
new.
Yes, please eat up.
A new
Everything
home,
turned out
New
wonderfully tonight.
rules, new authority
We're just happy you're here
figures,
with us.
new emotional expectations. But grief doesn't disappear just because life moves on. So what you often see isn't resistance. It's unresolved grief trying to survive in a world that changed too quickly. When a child enters a blended family, they don't just walk into a new home, they walk into a new system, new rules, new routines, new emotional expectations, and most importantly, a new question forming quietly in their mind. Who do I have to be to stay here? In a traditional family, the environment gradually shapes itself around the child. But in a blended family, it often works the other way around. The child adapts, not slowly, not consciously, but instinctively. Psychologically, this is what we can call hyper-adaptation, a survival strategy where the child becomes highly attuned to the emotional climate around them. They study tone, body language, reactions, they learn what gets approval and what creates tension, and then they adjust. They become quieter, easier, less demanding. They hide parts of themselves that feel too much. This is closely linked to what trauma psychology describes as the fawn response, a pattern where a person copes by pleasing others, avoiding conflict, and staying agreeable at all costs. On the surface, this child looks well behaved, but internally, they are constantly scanning, calculating, performing, because the home no longer feels like a place to relax. It feels like a stage, and they are always in character. Over time, this creates a subtle but powerful belief. My place here depends on how well I adapt. Not who they are, but how well they fit. And when a child learns that belonging must be earned, they don't just lose their voice, they lose the feeling that they ever truly had one. Now we arrive at one of the most painful psychological realities for stepchildren, something that often goes unseen but is deeply felt. It's called loyalty conflict. Imagine being a child who loves their biological parent and is now expected to accept, maybe even love, a new parental figure. On the surface, it seems simple. There's more love to go around, but internally, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like a betrayal. Loving a step-parent can trigger a quiet, overwhelming guilt. Does this mean I'm replacing my real parent? Am I being disloyal? And if they resist that connection to stay loyal, they risk tension, rejection, or emotional distance in the home they now live in. There's no winning move here, just emotional consequences on both sides. This is what experts like Patricia Papernow describe as a psychological double bind, an impossible choice with no safe outcome. So what does the child do? They step out of the game. Instead of choosing one side, they choose distance. This is where defensive detachment begins. They stop attaching deeply. They stop expressing too much. They keep relationships, but at arm's length, because caring feels dangerous. And this detachment often deepens in families with half-siblings. The child watches a kind of love that looks effortless, natural, unquestioned. And in contrast, their own place feels conditional. So a belief quietly forms. Love isn't something I receive. It's something I have to earn. And when that belief takes root, distance no longer feels like loss. It feels like protection. Time passes, the child grows up, they leave the house, build a life, start new relationships. But the feeling doesn't stay behind, because when you grow up feeling like an outsider, that identity doesn't just disappear. It follows you quietly, consistently into adulthood. In relationships, this often shows up as attachment struggles. Some people cling tightly, constantly seeking reassurance, afraid of being replaced or left behind. Others do the opposite. They keep distance, pull away when things get too close, protecting themselves from the risk of rejection. Either way, the message underneath is the same. Connection isn't safe. Then there's the subtle, persistent voice of imposter syndrome. Even in places where they've earned their position, work, friendships, love, it can feel like they're just playing a role. Like eventually, someone will notice, you don't really belong here. And for many, there's a deeper restlessness, a constant search for something they can't quite name. A home, not just a place, but a feeling. So they move, they change environments, relationships, identities, hoping the next place will finally feel right. But the truth is, they're not just searching for a location. They're searching for the belonging they never got to feel.
So what? You're just gonna walk away from it?
So how do you heal from something so quiet, yet so deeply rooted? It doesn't start with forcing yourself to move on. It starts with allowing yourself to feel what was never fully felt. grief. Not just for what happened, but for what didn't. The safety you needed, the connection you deserved, the version of home you never got to have. And here's the truth many people need to hear. You are allowed to grieve that. Because healing begins the moment you stop minimizing your own story. From there, something powerful can happen. You begin to redefine what family actually means, not based on blood, but based on consistency, safety, emotional honesty. And as an adult, you now have a choice you didn't have as a child. You can build a chosen family. People who don't require you to perform. People who don't make you earn your place. People who meet you where you are and stay. You can also begin the process of reparenting yourself, learning to give yourself the validation, protection, and care you once had to search for outside. And slowly, that feeling of being a guest begins to fade because you're no longer waiting to be invited in. You're building your own table now. If this resonated with you, share your story in the comments. You're not alone in this. And if you want more content like this, don't forget to subscribe.